Back in Canton, Mike and David Shula presenting their father, and David's the one doing the talking.
Powerhouse, Syracuse. In 1960, Don Shula entered the NFL as defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. On the first defensive snap, his defense gave up a 60-yard touchdown pass. Welcome to the NFL. In his second season as the head coach of the Baltimore Colts, they lost to the Cleveland Browns 27-0 in the NFL championship game. In 1968, Joe Namath led the New York Jets to an upset win over the heavily favored Baltimore Colts in Super Bowl III. In his second year as head coach of the Miami Dolphins, the Dolphins ended that season with a loss to the Dallas Cowboys in Super Bowl VI. Don Shula is nothing if not resilient and competitive. Each setback fueled the fire of an intensely competitive man. In 1972, the Miami Dolphins and their coach achieved perfection. A 14-0 regular season capped off by a 14-7 victory over the Washington Redskins in Super Bowl VII. The next season, the Dolphins went 12-2 and won Super Bowl VIII over the Minnesota Vikings. 32-2 over a 2-year span. In 33 years as a head coach, he averaged 10 victories per season. Went to the Super Bowl 6 times and won twice. Developed hundreds of Pro Bowlers and tens of Hall of Famers. Don Shula lives by his word. He would not ask his players to do something he would not do himself, so he ran gassers after practice with his team. If he had something on his mind, you were soon to hear about it, good or bad. Honesty is his credo. No team went into a game better prepared. Don Shula coached teams were audible ready, so well prepared they could adjust to any unusual circumstance. Being as good as everyone else never entered his mind. Being better than everyone else is all he ever thought about. Excellence was expected.
Don Shula has a tender side as well. You just have to dig a little to find it. When the prettiest girl in Painesville took off to Hawaii to test his marrying resolve, he wrote and begged her to come back. They married and together raised 5 children. Dave and I and our 3 lovely sisters, Donna, Sharon, and Annie. He became a horseman because his daughters loved to ride and travel to horse shows. Now he loves to spoil his 6 grandchildren. He even spent over $100 in a candy store to make them happy. After Mom's passing in 1991, Dad found love again and married beautiful Mary Ann. They share 2 families now and fuss over both with a passion. Mary Ann is his guide as Dad enters new territory, retirement and the restaurant business. His pursuit of excellence now drives Don Shula's steakhouses. His fundraising efforts to find a cure for cancer have resulted in hundreds of thousands of dollars for grants to fund cancer research. Devotion to his religion, his family, and the NFL have brought Dad here today. He has been described in part because of his jutting jaw as the NFL's national monument. His devotion to his real and his football family inspire tremendous loyalty for all of us. Larry Zonka said it best for all of us. Some days we love to love him, some days we love to hate him, but we always loved him.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we present to you
the newest member of the NFL Hall of Fame, our dad, Don Shula. Thank you.
Thank you, David, Mike. I can't tell you how much of a proud father I am to have those 2 up here to present me. I coached against Dave the last couple of years, and I was very proud to be the first time a father ever coached against a son. He beat me for 30 minutes the first time and 59 and a half minutes the second time. And I coached against Mike when he was an assistant with the Bears, and they won that football game. But both of them cleaned my clock now on the tennis court and also on the golf course. They know more about me personally, family, profession than anybody that I could think of, and that's why I was so proud to have them present me. I want to acknowledge my daughters, Donna, Sharon, and Annie. And Mike talked about Dorothy and what a tremendous contribution and influence that she had on our lives. But this is the ultimate honor. I look at the people sitting around me, the names of so many of the great players and coaches who are members of the Hall of Fame. I want to congratulate them again, and also the new enshrinees. The 2 Mikes, and then Wellington. What a time that we've had this week, and I've really enjoyed our time together. You know, it's only 50 miles from Grand River to Canton, but it took me 67 years to travel that distance, and I've got 8 minutes to talk about it. Grand River, a little fishing village up on Lake Erie. Mom and Dad came over. Dad migrated from the old country. Large family. We had twins and triplets in our family. The triplets are here today, and I want to recognize them. My sister Irene and the triplets. The triplets were my first coaching job. When I was in the 8th grade and they were in the 1st grade at St. Mary's School, I was in charge of them. And I had to make sure that they got to school on time and got home on time. They did the things that they should be doing in school. The parents taught me the early lessons. Believe in God, hard work equals success, straightforward and honest, no free lunches. Painesville, Ohio was next. St. Mary's School, the nuns. Joe Jenkins, my first coach, is here today, my 5th and 6th grade coach. Where's Joe? Put your hand up, Joe. All right. Then came Harvey High School. Don Martin is here today. He was the coach that took me out of gym class and wanted to know why I wasn't on the football team. And I explained that I was sick when football practice opened and that I didn't have the opportunity to go. He said, you get out for football. You should be out there. So Don Martin, thank you for your contribution to my career. Then it was on to John Carroll University, a Jesuit education. Father Shell, the great logic teacher. I hope that I've been able to use some of his logic through the years. A great small college coaching staff. Herb Isley was the head coach. They did everything that the Cleveland Browns did. We were right in the Browns' shadow. Our playbook was the same as the Cleveland Browns playbook. So he prepared me for the opportunity that I had when I was later drafted by the Cleveland Browns. John Carroll played Syracuse University in Cleveland Stadium, and we beat them with Paul Brown and his entire staff looking on. Out of that ball game, I was drafted. Weeb Eubank was a scout or an assistant coach and a scout, and he prepared the scouting reports, and he recommended that they draft us. So Carl Tassif and myself were drafted from John Carroll to the Cleveland Browns football team. And that was in 1951. As it turned out, I was the only rookie to make that team, and then Carl Tassif joined them later. And my rookie contract, my first rookie contract, was for $5,000. I ended up playing 7 years in the National Football League, and then it came decision time. After John Carroll University, I was offered a coaching job at Canton Lincoln High School here in Canton, Ohio, for $3,750. But I decided I would reach for the moon and shoot for that $5,000 and see whether or not I could play in the National Football League. And the fact that we had played Syracuse and beat them in Cleveland Stadium gave me the confidence that we could play on that level, even though we were a small college team. I started my coaching career in the National Football League as an assistant coach with the Detroit Lions in 1960, 61, and 62. And the memorable game in that period of time was when nobody was beating the Green Bay Packers and Vince Lombardi. We beat them on Thanksgiving Day in a great, great performance. I think we had 12 quarterback sacks in that ball game. And then, again, as a defensive coach, I was given a lot of credit for that success. This led me to have the opportunity to become a head coach in the National Football League. The Colts were looking. Gino Marchetti, the captain of the Baltimore Colts and a Hall of Famer, and I was hoping that he would be here today, but I guess he could not be here. But Gino Marchetti told Carol Rosenblum, the owner, who was going to make a coaching change, that if you're looking for somebody, Shula's the guy. And Rosenblum then gave me an interview, and the question that he asked, he said, you're going to be the youngest coach in the National Football League. Do you think that you're ready for the job? And I said, Carol, the only way that you'll find out is if you hire me and give me the opportunity. He liked that answer. He gave me the job. I had 7 great years coaching the Colts, and a lot of memorable things, a lot of great players. Lenny Moore, Jim Parker, Raymond Berry, John Unitas, the quarterback. But the fun time of coaching was the time when Unitas was hurt and Quazzo was hurt, and we were getting ready to get into the playoffs, and the only player that I had to play was a guy that had played quarterback at Ohio State, Tom Matte, but hadn't played quarterback in the pros. So I had to get him ready in a hurry because we had to win in order to make it to the playoffs. So I called Woody Hayes. I said, Woody, can this guy play in the National Football League? He said, Don, you don't have a thing to worry about. This guy is a winner. He's going to do the job for you. You don't have anything to concern yourself with. I said, well, are there any negatives about Matte? He said, well, he did have trouble taking the snap from center. So we moved on from there. the Miami Dolphins in 1970. Joe Robbie hired me, the Robbie family. We were 3-10-1. They were 3-10-1 a year before. We turned it around to 10-4, into the playoffs, and then 3 Super Bowls in a row. Lost to the Cowboys. What I learned from that loss, and also another loss that I'm going to talk about later, was that when you're there, it's not good enough to be there. When you're there, you better walk away with that ring, because they're only thinking about one team when that game's over. Before the game, they're talking about 2 football teams. When the game's over, there's only one winner. And I learned that the hard way in my first 2 Super Bowls. I was 0-2 in Super Bowls. But then things fell into place. Back-to-back Super Bowls. The 17-0 perfect season. The next year, 15-2, 32-2 in 2 years. What a football team. I think what coaching is all about is taking players and analyzing their ability, put them in a position where they could excel within the framework of the team winning. And I hope that I've done that in my 33 years as a head coach. The one thing that I know is that you win with good people. The Hall of Famers that I've coached, we got Bob Greasy, Jim Langer, Larry Little, Larry Zonka sitting over there, Paul Warfield. Some other guys offensively that I hope are soon going to be considered for a Hall of Fame. Bob Kuchenberg, Dwight Stevenson. We got Nat Moore sitting out here who's done so many things. And a defense, what a defense, a no-name defense in those years, led by Bill Arnsparger, who's here today. And what a defensive coach. Nick Bonacani, Dick Anderson, Jake Scott, Manny Fernandez, Bill Stanfill. 2 Super Bowls, 32-2 in 2 years. We've got to get a defensive player from those teams into the Hall of Fame. And I hope that someday that we're going to be able to recognize one of those players. And I also want to talk about other players that gave me everything that they had to give on special teams, practice squad, whatever. Their dedication and effort was the main reason that I was able to win so many games. Earl Morrall, I got to say a word about Earl Morrall. When Unitas went down, it was Earl Morrall. I was smart enough to bring him to Miami, and when Bob Greasy went down, it was Earl Morrall. The toughest decision that I ever had to make as a coach was after Bob was hurt, Earl led us to the unbeaten season. We get into the Super Bowl. After Bob's healthy, he comes back and helps us beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. And then I had to make a decision. And I made the decision to start Bob Greasy. I made the decision to start Bob Greasy, and Earl took it like the man that he is. And Earl, thank you for all of your contributions. The present day, for the last 13 years, I've had the opportunity to coach Dan Marino. Dan Marino makes practice exciting. He's broken all of the quarterback records in 13 years. It took Tarkington 18 years to set these records. And I hope and pray that Dan gets the opportunity to wear this ring before he retires. The career highlights, I'm proud of being able to break the record of a man that's meant so much to the National Football League, a record that nobody ever thought would be broken, George Halas's record of 324, and then to end up with a total of 347 wins, averaging 10 regular season wins for 33 years, and the best winning percentage, and I'm very proud of this, of any professional team from 1970 to 1996. The team highlights certainly have to be 17-0, the only team in history, and a special bond is developed with that group of players. They wear this ring with pride. And this year is going to be the 25th anniversary of the 17-0 team, the only undefeated season. The low light in my career the loss to the Jets in Super Bowl III. Weeb Eubank is the coach here, and what a coach Weeb is. And then they had a quarterback by the name, I keep forgetting, Joe Namath was the quarterback. And what a game that he had against us. And that certainly, but I did learn from that negative experience. I hope the hell I learned something from that negative experience. And I'm also a little bit upset because my career didn't end in a blaze of glory. I would have liked to have rode off into the sunset. But instead, we got beat in the first round of the playoffs in the last game that I coached. And I felt at that time the team underachieved, and I would have loved to have bowed out with a Super Bowl win, but it didn't happen. Some special thoughts. 43 years in the National Football League. The commissioners, Bert Bell was the first commissioner when I broke in. And then Pete Rozelle and the tremendous things that he has done in the National Football League. And now Paul Tagliabue, who is a man that has got a lot of tough problems, but nobody can handle them better than Paul does. The 33 years as a head coach, 7 with the Colts and 26 with the Dolphins. 20 years as a member of the competition committee. Donna, you know I'm going to mention that. And some great people. Tex Schramm, who I have so much respect for. He was originally on the committee, along with the late Paul Brown. Al Davis was on that committee. George Young has been so instrumental in any success that this league has had in a lot of different ways. And Don Weiss, the liaison between the committee and the league, and all of the tremendous times that we had together meeting for those 2 weeks every year, talking about player safety and playing rules. I've only been carried off the field 2 times. One was after the 17-0, and the other one was after 325, and I'll always remember those rides. A lot of special people, family that's here today, and all of the sacrifices and the loyalty and the support, friends that have been loyal in good and bad times, assistant coaches. Chuck Noll was an assistant that went on to win 4 Super Bowls. I mentioned Bill Arnsberger, Howard Schnellenberger, Monty Clark is out here, John Sandusky, Tom Keene, Mo Scarry, Carl Tassif. I'd love to see a Hall of Fame for assistant coaches to get them the recognition that they deserve. The owners that I've had the opportunity, only 3, Rosenblum, who hired me at an early age, the Robbie family, and we accomplished a lot together, and Wayne Huizinga, who's here with us today. And Wayne, I would have loved to have had the opportunity to win that big one with you. I think we'd have had a hell of a time together. The fans that I've been around have been the best. They have been the best. I've enjoyed my relationship with the media over a long period of time. A lot of respect for the great ones that have survived the test of time. They're true professionals in their field. I want to count my blessings. I've been able to do something for a lifetime that I have enjoyed doing. I've had good health, and I've met a lot of great people along the way. What's life been after the National Football League? I've missed the action, there's no question, on Sunday afternoon. Nothing could replace that. But my wife, Marianne, stand up here and let's. She's helped keep me busy by making life interesting and enjoyable. Together we have now a combined family of 8 children and 8 grandchildren, and we're having a lot of love and happiness together. You know, it's only 50 miles, but I've relished every moment of the longer route to get here. Thanks for letting me reflect on those great moments. Thank you.
So Don Shula inducted into the Hall of Fame. Up next, Terry Bradshaw presents Mike Webster.